the incredible, the fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, come one and come all to a film you've never seen before. But remember, folks, no refunds.
Hello and welcome to No Refunds, the podcast where we watch bad movies so you don't have to, a Cold North production. I'm your host, Ben Reynolds, and this week we watched Andrew Stanton's 2012 film, John Carter. Joining me this time we have the tenacious Tim Miller.
Oh, hi.
And Patrick the Law Morris.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Did John Carter have a catchphrase?
I don't think so. Check out everything we have going on over at coldnorthpro.com, and if you like what you hear, leave us a rating and review wherever you found our podcast. And now, John Carter.
Let them be crushed. Killed him with one blow. When I saw you, I believed that something new can come into this world.
You are John Carter of Earth?
Yes, ma'am.
Threatens to destroy our city.
That don't look like a fair fight. You are ugly, but you are beautiful. You will fight for us! Get on. We did not cause this, but this very night, we will end it! I was too late once. I won't be again.
All right. So each week, we all take a crack at writing the Google plot synopsis. Then we read Google's actual plot synopsis. Then Tim and Pat try and figure out whose is whose. So this week, we'll launch right into it with this one. To his complete surprise, Captain John Carter wakes up after being transported to Mars and is almost immediately taken hostage by a Martian race that call themselves the Tharks. Carter finds himself at the nucleus of a civil war raging between two Martian races, being passed from one faction to another as they all try to utilize his superhuman strength in their quest for supremacy. As John Carter dives deeper into the Civil War, he discovers that the two factions are being manipulated by a mysterious ancient race known only as the Therns.
I liked your enunciation.
I tried. I mean, when you've got these complicated words,
yeah,
you got to.
You got to change them somehow.
All right, next. When Civil War veteran John Carter mysteriously awakes on the surface of Mars, also called Barsoom, he little expects the adventure that awaits him. Carter reluctantly becomes embroiled in an epic conflict among the Red Planet's inhabitants, including Tars Tarkas and Princess Deja Thoris. As Barsoom is poised on the brink of collapse, war-weary Carter rediscovers his humanity when he realizes that everyone's fate is in his hands. All right, then we have... When disturbed, an ancient ruin sends former Confederate cavalry captain John Carter to Mars. On Mars, John is thrown into a civil war between rival cities Helium and Zodanga. It is up to John to end the war and find a way back home. And then finally, John Carter wakes up in a strange new world, lost, confused, and far away from home, when he encounters the Tharks, a race of 4-armed aliens who reside on that planet only known as Barsoom. When ships that fly on light appear from the sky, John Carter takes it upon himself to use his newfound strength and agility on this planet to rescue a damsel in distress. This damsel, Deja Thoris, is a princess of one of the 2 warring factions on the planet, and now John Carter has to fight for what he believes in if he ever hopes to return home. Alrighty, so what are you guys thinking?
Ooh, I always go first, and it always ends up fucking me, so I'm gonna wait.
I'm pretty sure it's either 1 or 2, and I'm not sure which one I want to go with. I guess I'll go with 2.
All right.
So if that's the case, then I think I can ace it. And I'm going to say 1 was me, 2 was Ben, 3 was Google, 4 was Tim. Damn it, seriously again?
Beaten streak of beating you every time.
Fuck. God damn it, Ben.
Tim got it right again.
Woo!
Shit. Fuck.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. I thought you were going to get it right, and then you were like, 3 was Ben. I was like, yes.
It's just too happy.
3 was Google. Exactly.
Just too happy.
Yes. Perfect.
Oh, man. This was a very complicated, convoluted movie.
Yeah, it was really hard to write 3 sentences only to describe the base plot.
Wow, man, there's so much happening. Yeah.
When I went to write my description, my first draft was, and I did multiple drafts of a 3-sentence summary, but my first draft was, man from Earth moved to Mars, civil war, bad guys hiding, or something like that. Bad guys in shadows. Like, I just can't think of any other way to describe the movie.
Ultimately, though, like, I feel like the Therns were really not that important.
They were supposed to be way more important than they were.
Important, but like not important enough to be mentioned by Google.
Yeah, but without the Therns, like the Therns were the overarching bad guy.
About a plot when you're trying to write your Google plot synopsis.
Ben is really learning how to write like Google.
You got to be like, all right. So, what is the most basic you could write, and someone would still have an idea of what goes on in this movie, and they wouldn't be like, "No, that's not the movie I watched."
No, that's not the movie I watched. Honestly, though, in this movie, kind of maybe I would think, no, that's not the movie I watched. But that's not Google's fault for once.
That's Disney's fault.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Oof.
They spent a lot of money on this.
I'm excited to get to that because I didn't look into any of that.
Oh man, yeah. There was just so much happening. All right, well let's just get on to the questions because
there's too much to unpack.
Clearly, the plot is. If you don't know the plot for this movie, I don't think we can tell you it.
Yeah.
If you don't know the plot for this movie, well, we can't really help you with that.
Yeah, you're just gonna have to go watch it yourself.
We watched it, but we don't know it.
There's a lot happening.
Mhm.
A lot.
Too much
lot.
at times.
Yeah. All right. So each film we go through, we'll revisit these 7 questions to lead our discussion. The first question is, how bad was it?
I know what Tim thinks of this movie, and he was not shy last time. But I'm going to come out and say I didn't think this movie was really bad. I thought it was okay. Like, it wasn't good, but it was like it had some charm to it for sure.
All right. Give us some economy of scale based on other bad movies, because we've watched a lot.
We have watched a lot of other bad movies. It was not as good as Rampage. Hold on. Let me take a look at the list of movies we've watched. I can find a way to put it in. I can find a place. I would say it was better than Tomb Raider. I would say it was on par with Daybreakers.
I thought it was a bit better than Daybreakers, personally.
But
like, it was no death race.
No, definitely no Death Race, nor a Starship Troopers.
Yeah. I would say it wasn't as good as Daybreakers. I would say it was probably more in line with like Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor.
Yeah, I would say that's a pretty fair comparison for me.
Yeah.
As well.
It's like I enjoyed it while I watched it, but as soon as it was and like it was much more towards the third act that I started enjoying myself, because it all started sort of coming together, and I was like and it wasn't like it was a well-written story, so it all came together. It was like, oh, I've been watching this long enough that I know who is who and what is what, and when they say these words, I know what they mean, which is bad writing.
That, I guess I would say that definitely did help, but I found myself towards the end just being like, fuck, this movie is long.
That's also true. But then the end was pretty fucking awesome.
The very end was awesome, definitely. I did really like that, but God, it took them too long to get there.
That's true.
Yeah,
way
absolutely.
too long to get there.
So yeah, we're into the second question, which is, well, no, actually, we haven't let Tim tell us how. So how bad did you think it was, Tim?
I love this movie. I thought it was actually really good, especially the second time around. I saw it in theaters initially, and I remember liking it a lot, but rewatching it, it's just a fun little sci-fi romp. Like, you can't take it too seriously, and like, it's just got a lot of action in it. It's just a fun movie. Like, that's really all it was for me. And I don't remember laughing at a movie like that in quite a long time. So I had a lot of fun with this one. So it ranks pretty high on the list for me of what we've watched recently.
Fair enough.
So
fair enough. All right. Well, so then the next question is, what made it bad? So Tim's saying that Tim enjoyed it a lot.
That doesn't mean there wasn't some bad things.
Oh,
That does not mean there weren't some bad things.
And so like I'd say that the number one bad thing was how complicated the plot was. Like,
Yep.
way too complicated.
Definitely. So, Tim, you said it was a fun little sci-fi romp. I feel like it could have been a fun little sci-fi romp, but they tried to put way too much into a very, what is relatively, compared to what they were trying to fit into it, a very short amount of time.
Yeah, that's a very fair assessment. I mean, going back into it, I was confused for probably the first 30, 40 minutes of the movie, wondering, okay, who are you guys? What the fuck is going on here? Then it just, like, it started to click at that point, and that's when it, like, really became fun. So,
Yeah.
Okay, so I feel like I just thought about something that really, like, and I'm gonna kind of have to maybe step on my research a little bit, but I really think that what this movie no, I won't need to. This movie struggles with the fact that it just, like, they insist on introducing everyone to you, and that's like one of the strengths of Star Wars is that, like, yeah, you get to see a lot of different aliens, but you don't get introduced to, like, they don't like tell you like every little thing about all of those aliens when you're introduced to them. And like some of them, like a lot of them, you're just like, whoa, that's a crazy looking alien, you know? And like but that's like literally it just passes through the shot or whatever, you know? And ultimately the characters are really, and they're not like it's more about the character than the races. And this is like, they focus too much, like having it be like a civil war between those races. And like, I don't know. It's just
every time I know what you're trying to say here, Ben. And it's like in Star Wars, it's like, there's a lot of alien races that you see that you never hear anything about. Or if you do hear something about them, you have to read it. You have to read it in the expanded universe. Like Ki-Adi-Mundi is a great example of, you know, he's clearly an alien race, but you literally never learn anything about his race or even much about his character in the movies. It's like, it's just accepted in the universe because that's what we're aware. Like, we're watching aliens. And in this movie, it's like every time a new alien race came on screen, they basically had to do like a 3-minute expose about who they are, what their motivation is, and where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely. And I guess that's because we had an Earthling trying to deal with them, but it just made it, because he was confused, it made the whole movie seem almost more confusing, I guess, in some ways. And this is something else that did maybe make it bad, which, like, don't get me wrong, like, I actually do really like Taylor Kitsch. Like, I like Taylor Kitsch a lot.
He's an amazing actor.
Yeah, I just don't think that the way he played this role, and like, I have a note that was like, I'm not crazy about the way Taylor Kitsch is playing John Carter. Like, I don't think that this is a great role for him. I think that's part of what made it bad.
I'm not sure if it's that it's not a great role for him, or if it's that it's the dialogue made the
writing was bad.
Or maybe it was just that, like, the character himself, like, even in the source material, is bland. But, like, Taylor Kitsch, where I first, like, became acquainted with him as an actor, not that, like, I know him, but, like, where I first saw him and he made a name for himself in my mind was True Detective 2. And he was sharing the screen with Colin Farrell, Vince Vaughn, Rachel McAdams, and yeah, those were the big three in that series. Colin Farrell, Vince Vaughn, and Rachel McAdams. And it's like, he stole the show in that. He was amazing. And when you're on screen with those three and you're stealing the show, you got some chops. And so,
absolutely,
Taylor Kitsch is a great actor. He's just, I think that it was because of that. It leads me to think it was a problem with the role.
See, but I think that, because like the other thing that I've seen him, that I found him like, he's really good as Tim Riggins on Friday Night Lights. And I think that so much of what makes Taylor Kitsch a good actor is about being human. And then if you go and put him around a bunch of aliens, you kind of lose that.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, he did Lone Survivor too, and that he was awesome in that. And like, that's a very emotional movie. Like, he's very much a dramatic actor.
Yeah, and like, so like, I don't know that, like, because like, while Lone Survivor is a action movie, it's a dramatic action movie that's like a really sad story. Yeah, and that, I mean, that's the emotion in that. He's very good at conveying emotion, and he, like, while he does get to convey some emotion with the story about his dead wife and daughter, you don't get
He doesn't. He doesn't have a whole lot of room to play.
Exactly.
Tim,
what did you think of John Carter, the role?
His character was, as you said, incredibly bland. He was basically Superman in like the Man of Steel movies. Like, he was just there. He was strong. He was just fighting to get home. He was just doing what he had to do, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah,
got some pussy along the way, and I mean, that's all you can expect him to do. So
that's a good comparison, because Henry Cavill is another pretty good actor that really didn't have much to work with in Man of Steel.
Yeah, exactly. So now, like I just talked about a character, but I feel like that was more not even necessarily the character, but all right. Well, let's just go on to our next question. Which character was the worst?
I mean, John Carter is definitely up there.
He is.
I don't think he was the worst, though.
Okay. No, I'm curious who Tim's got.
I'm gonna have to go with the main villain. What do you call it? What's it called? The
Santhon or whatever his name is?
The Jadok of the Zidanga, whatever his name was.
What is it?
Exactly.
Sabthan.
Sabthan, thank you. Yeah.
The one who is played by
Dominic West.
Lara Croft. Yeah, Lara Croft's dad, Dominic West.
Yeah, no, that's actually a good answer to that.
I thought it was Mai Tai Shang.
Who was that?
Also a good answer. That was Mark Strong, the Thurn.
Oh, okay.
Also a good answer. Because the Thurns were just in general flawed, because this was a movie, like we said, that was just so obsessed with giving us backstory. But the Thurns, arguably the most important race in the entire movie,
literally had no motivation for what they were doing.
They were the ones that we got no backstory on.
He literally said that they don't have any motivation for it. Like, they asked him why he was doing it. And
I wrote,
Mai Tai Shang is the worst because he really had no motivation to do the things he was doing, and he basically admitted that.
And we were bored.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Because I know that I'm going to have to break a tie here, because I really don't have... There were a lot of very bland characters, and I didn't have a pick for this. I definitely have a pick for the better one. But I'm going to have to go with Ma Tai Shang, because, Ben, you're right. Like, there was... Not only was there not character motivation, they straight up admitted, yeah, we just don't have any motivation for this character. And the Therns being like
fucking chaos or whatever.
The Therns being like this ancient race that are like legendary.
But then didn't he say that the Therns were bullshit or something too?
Yeah, no, it's because they were literally legend. And like a lot of people don't believe legend, and that actually fit, I thought, pretty well. Was a good explanation of the Therns. As far as like societally, it's been so long since they've had any interaction with the Therns that they are literally legend, and a lot of people just don't believe in them. And so, but like seeing
again, way too complicated.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, who's the best character?
I'll break that tie with Ma Tai Shang, but Tim,
all right,
you're definitely... Sabthan was very, very bad.
Like, my biggest problem with him was he was given an overpowered tool that he wasn't really allowed to use at all. And then he gets killed by it in the end just because I can't fucking remember their names either, because they all start with the.
For like poetic justice.
Yeah.
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 Oh,
Pretty
the
stupid.
Thurn. Yeah. The frickin'. Yeah. As you were talking about, they just ended up offing him. And it was like, okay, that's good, I guess, even though you were trying to make him the king of the whole planet. That makes sense. Not.
It was
Not.
bizarre.
Yeah. So.
All right. So then, which character was the best / most compelling?
I'll
go ahead.
go last. I'll go last because
All right,
I think I have the definitive answer.
I'm gonna have to go with Sola. Mainly just because she was the only person throughout the entirety of it just trying to do the right thing for her. Like, she was trying to stop John from going to the temple, and she got hurt for it anyways. She was, throughout the entirety of the movie, she just tried to be the best that she could be, even though she didn't know that her father was the Jadak of their tribe. Like,
She didn't know that was actually kind of a cool thing societally.
Yep.
Of like, this is a race that is so committed to just being one race that they don't even separate into families, and your lineage is a mystery to you throughout your entire life.
Yep. And when she finds out, she actually goes to save her father in the pit. Like, and then she convinces her father and the rest of them to actually get on the flying machines to go help John, when they explicitly said, "No, we don't fly."
Yeah, that's true.
So she had a huge hand in it, and I think it made her a pretty compelling character.
All right.
I'm going Tarkus, her dad, because he gave John many chances. He saved his daughter's life and John's. He risked everything for John, basically his life, his daughter's life, everything, and his position in the I guess the whatever the fuck they were called. So yeah, that's Tarkus and Willem Dafoe.
Great actor.
Undefeated on.
Is he undefeated on our podcast?
No, I think
What?
I don't think he was. I don't think we decided
Elvis.
he was the best character as Elvis.
Yeah,
Elvis. Elvis was the best character. I don't think.
I think we said Elvis was the worst.
I think that's right.
So, kind of undefeated? He did win.
Yeah, he won it being bad. Congratulations.
All right. So, those are both good characters. Here is the actual best character. Wola. Wola.
The dog.
The dog.
Oh, yeah, the dog was pretty awesome. It was fast.
He was fast.
Oh, yeah.
He was cute. He was very loyal to John. He
I
was
don't know about cute.
super cute, like in the ugly cute, like a bulldog. He was super badass in that fight,
Yeah, he was super badass in the fight.
Yeah.
and when John is escaping to head back to the Tharks, Wola is also badass.
Yeah.
Good character, but I can't.
Yeah.
I don't see the compelling in it. Like,
He was
throughout his
space
entire
dog.
character arc. Yeah, it's cute space
Space
dog.
dog.
That's all he was.
That's cool as fuck. Yeah, that's all you need. Space dog.
I don't know. Space tits. I think were a little bit better this time around than Space Dog.
Did you guys take a look at the like comic art or the original, like the source material art for Deja? Because she was very scantily clad and straight up naked in a lot of the original source material.
Excuse me for a second.
I don't know if it would be original source material because it wasn't the original source. Well, we'll get there. But
Well, she's
All right,
there's-
well-
she's been animated several times naked in official material.
All right.
So I don't know. So who do we think was actually the best, most compelling?
I I had a love-hate relationship with Tars. So I got to give it to Sola. If you guys really aren't going to get on board with Wola, which I think is a crime.
Like Woola. It's not the best.
Exactly.
Then if I'm going to break a tie here, I'm going to give it to Sola, because I had a love-hate relationship with Tars because he was like, but then again, that does contribute to him being compelling because he wasn't just straight up nice. He was clearly like looking out for his people. But then again, so was Sola. Okay, sorry, Tim, you're losing twice tonight. I'm giving it to Tars because Sola was very like one track, whereas Tars did have push and pull to him with that internal struggle.
Fair.
Tars
I can concede that. He was a good character.
He was pretty awesome.
And he was a good character because I didn't like him the entire time.
Well, and I would also say that I genuinely did not realize that it was Willem Dafoe until I looked it up and was like, oh shit, that was Willem Dafoe.
Oh, really? I heard it immediately.
That was good voice acting. Yeah. Huh. I don't know why, but I did not notice it right away. All right. So was it so bad it was good? I don't think it was so bad that I don't think it goes down far enough on the bad scale to do that, to get there.
No, yeah. I wouldn't even say it was so bad that it was bad.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty good. So
yeah. It was all right.
I would have called it bad if they didn't have the extra ending at the end.
Bad, but bad meaning good.
No. Bad meaning bad. If the ending hadn't happened the way it did, because by the time John Carter was teleported back to Earth against his will, I was very fatigued. Like, I was very sick of this movie by that time.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
But then that entire scene of like him trying to get back to Mars, that took the movie from like bad to like, no, this is okay.
Yeah, that's true. So would it have been better as a Netflix/HBO series? Abso-fucking-lutely.
Yes.
Agreed.
This is one of those movies that's like, it's almost a crime that it was a movie instead of a series.
Seriously.
As we've been saying this whole time, like, they tried to pack too much stuff into 2 hours of film, and we could have actually gotten some backstory on half of these characters instead of being confused the whole time.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think that I've ever, like, this is the one where I'm like, this is the most positive about this that I have been on any movie we've done, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and I feel like I feel like the way they made it, it did feel like they were planning on it being a series, becoming a series. Mm-hmm. But like, as the movie went on, it became more and more, because I do like think about the questions as I watched the movie. It was like, this one was definitely the further into this movie I got, the more I was like, wow, this would be such a good miniseries. Mm-hmm. Like, I think as a miniseries, it could take it from like, okay, to like, no, that's really good stuff.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
That's good sci-fi.
Absolutely. So then the last question, would it have been better with John Cena?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, John Cena, slide him into any of those roles. Tars Tarkas,
John Carter.
John Carter, Deja
Thoris.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll pay to see that again.
But I like slide him into the Mark Strong character, slide Matai Shang, slide him in as Sab Than, have him play the Daryl Sabara or Sabra character.
Wait, was that
the kid, the nephew?
Oh, yeah. that would be hilarious. Yeah. But or you could play the Bryan Cranston character.
Oh, that would have been really good.
Absolutely. Yeah, he could have been just about anybody.
I love the idea of Taylor Kitsch being John Cena's uncle.
That just doesn't sound believable.
Not at all.
But there are people that are older than their uncles.
It's true. It's true. Very true. All
So
right.
hard yes on would it be better as a Netflix
yes,
series.
would it be-
Hard yes on would it be better with John Cena. Imagine
yep.
if this was a Netflix series with John Cena.
Oh, man. Sign the check right now.
Get on it.
That's right.
All right, so let's move on to our burning questions. So these are questions that we are left with after the movie, and we can't find ourselves shaking. So my first one is, why was Matai Shang's homie trying to stab John on Earth in the first place?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he only discovered the room. Like, he could have just, like, left him there and had him take the gold and been like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. That really, like, that was the catalyst moment of the entire thing.
Yeah.
And if he had just been like, oh no, I'm just gonna chill here. Like, hey,
Not get discovered.
like, hey man, just taking a leak. You can come back for the gold later. I'll be gone. Not interested in that myself, but you know.
Yeah. And then my next one was, would it really be that hard to start walking on a planet with different gravity? And is that what it would look like when it's that hard to start walking?
It was comically bad.
So it was very bad. I'm gonna defend the movie on this one and
I
say
think
that
it's more like that guy jumping on that trampoline and doing a front flip and face first into the ground.
block or charge. I'm gonna say maybe they exaggerated it a bit too much, but like, do keep in mind this movie takes place in like the 1890s, and so we hadn't gone to the moon yet. We weren't aware of like, oh yeah, gravity is different on other planets.
Well, he doesn't even know that he's on another planet.
I guess that's true. So that makes even more sense that he's like, why the fuck can't I run?
But then he's able to just start walking normally later. But at that point, he can only walk by shuffling his feet. It was just overly exaggerated, I guess, in my mind.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
so.
I'll agree with you on that.
But it did make him a badass.
Eventually.
You guys have any burning questions?
So this whole movie was a burning question for me. I really genuinely had no idea what was going on throughout the entire thing. But if I were going to narrow it down, if I were going to be very specific, if the Tharks disliked, so what was the guy's name who challenged Tars? And then he was
One Horn or something like that is what they were calling him, wasn't it?
yeah, because he had
One
that
Horn.
tusk cut off. And then
Yeah,
he was
'cause he had the
challenged by
one.
he was challenged by John in the Colosseum. Mm-hmm. If the Tharks were so willing to, like, if they didn't like him to the point that they were willing to jump on board with John, why were they willing to jump on board with One Tusk when Tars was like? Why were they so willing to go against Tars for One Horn?
Well, he had
Because he
broken.
let his daughter go.
Yeah, he had broken some like
Or what?
edicts or whatever.
Yeah,
edicts.
and he shouldn't have known that she was his daughter. I think probably too, and that was probably against the rules. And yeah, I think he had broken a lot of rules.
Yep. Too much to forgive at that point.
All right.
Tim, did you have any?
Yeah, where can I get one of those medallions? I want to go to Mars.
I hear they sell them at Hot Topic.
Sweet.
Yeah, I think so.
Sweet.
All right, so let's move on to forgettable bullshit we found on Wikipedia and sometimes IMDb. So we start out this segment with the box office info. So this movie had a budget of $250 million, and Andrew Stanton was like very adamant when people tried to say that he had gone over budget, that he did not. But it sounds like he did go over budget from a lot of the stuff I was reading.
Kind of sounds like he did.
Yeah.
I mean, if the evidence is there.
Yeah, like it just there was a lot of stuff that made it sound like he had probably gone over budget. The opening weekend in the USA, it did $30.2 million.
Ooh.
In the USA, it grossed $78 million.
Total?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Worldwide, it grossed $284.1 million. So it barely made back the budget, which it was over on. And then movies typically double their budget for marketing.
So they probably made back like a third of the money that they spent, but not even that because they were over budget.
So when you Google John Carter, you know how sometimes there's those people also ask?
Yeah.
The first question is, did John Carter lose money?
John Carter lost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not successful.
Disney said that they expected a $200 million loss on it.
Oh.
Ooh. Ouch.
That's always like, this is just like a thought exercise that I just like to like put myself through in things like that, where it's like, what do you think Disney executives were thinking when they saw this movie and they were like, yep, we're about to lose $200 million. Like,
oh, I mean, I'm sure that they saw a screening of it. They gave notes. Then they saw another screening of it and they were like, all right, we're fucked. And they were like, all right, just release it.
Just put it out there. It's been in the making for a while.
Yeah. So the movie's based on A Princess of Mars, which is a novel from 1917. It was the first in a series of 11 novels by Edgar Rice Burroughs. And then as a film, it's been in development since 1931.
Yeah, a while.
I'm sorry, what?
Yep. You heard that right.
80 years it took to make this film?
Yes, sir.
I mean,
Yes, sir.
it is living proof that at some point, just put it out because it's not going to get better.
So Bob Clampett, who was the director of Looney Tunes at the time, approached Edgar Rice Burroughs about the because he wanted to make an animated John Carter film, and Burroughs suggested that he should write an original animated adventure for John Carter. Ultimately, this ended up falling short, but there were actually there was a lot of development done on that, and I believe that you can actually find the animated footage of that out there. And from what I was reading, it was basically saying that if things had worked out right, John Carter could have been the first animated feature film. But it just didn't work out.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting that like, because that could have been like a very significant moment in film history, and instead it turned into, well, this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Potential.
That was a choice.
Yeah.
Disney bought the rights for the franchise in the 1980s in the hopes of creating their own Star Wars type franchise.
Should have just bought Star Wars at the time.
That's a choice. Yeah, I just can't stop saying that enough. Like, this is just a series of bad choices by Disney. It seems
An 80-year series of bad decisions that
Well,
led
no,
to,
Disney wasn't involved
until the 80s.
Whoever the hell was involved with Looney Tunes in 1931, which I think would have maybe still probably been Warner Brothers, but I don't know.
Oh, definitely.
yeah.
But yeah, so Disney got in the 1980s, but then Paramount acquired the rights in the early 2000s.
Wow. And Disney got it back?
So yeah, that had like there was like there was some ideas thrown in there with that essentially it sounds like instead of that we got Iron Man. So thank God. Like essentially because it was supposed to be what's his name directing?
Joss Whedon?
No, who directed Iron Man?
Oh, Jon Favreau.
Yeah, it was supposed to be Favreau directing, and Iron Man was Paramount.
Oh, and okay, so I've been watching through those movies again recently, and like it's very weird to see the Paramount logo before those movies. It's like,
yes, absolutely.
Marvel is so firmly Disney at this point, but
so yeah, Paramount acquired the rights in the early 2000s, and I do really think that essentially Iron Man saved us from seeing a Jon Favreau directed John Carter, which maybe would have been better.
Yeah,
who knows?
Jon Favreau is awesome.
Favreau was a great director. Absolutely.
I mean, Iron Man is like people don't. I'm not going to say that. People rarely think about it now because Iron Man is so beloved. But like before the Iron Man movie, people did not like Iron Man. And he was seen as like a very corny, stupid character. And then Jon Favreau took him and made this, like kickstarted the MCU and made this awesome movie. And so maybe a Jon Favreau, John Carter movie would have been good.
Yeah, it's possible. But then Andrew Stanton, the director of the Pixar Animation Studios hits Finding Nemo and WALL-E, lobbied Disney Studios Walt Disney Studios to reacquire the rights from Burroughs' estate because he had read the books as a kid and he wanted to see somebody put it on the screen, he said. And so, yeah, then Andrew Stanton basically, I guess Andrew Stanton, I don't know a whole lot about him, but it sounds like he must have had a pretty positive relationship with Steve Jobs because of his Pixar time.
Oh, gotcha. I always forget that they were related to them.
Yeah, and there was that because at the end of this movie it does say in loving memory of Steve Jobs or something like that.
Oh yeah, I thought that was weird, and now that there's an explanation to it,
yeah. But yeah, like so I get it, but I thought it was weird that he managed to basically just get them to acquire the rights and then let him spend $250+ million on making this movie.
Oh man, it's funny to hear that number because it's like, honestly, this is a charming movie. This is an endearing movie, and like I liked it, but like. I would even like if they announced a John Carter 2 out of some fucking miracle or terrible decision.
I'd probably watch it. Absolutely.
I would definitely watch it.
Oh, for sure.
I would love to see more of this. But like
that's just like if they made another fucking what the fuck National Treasure movie, I'd watch that.
Yeah. And those movies are bad. But like I would watch that too. And so like this movie is an endearing movie. It's charming, but for $250 million, a movie better be fucking more than charming.
Yeah, exactly. So you'll get this one you'll like, Pat. It's scored by one of your favorites.
Believe me, I knew that. I heard the score and I thought, wow, whoever composed this was doing a really good impression of Michael Giacchino. And then I looked it up and it was Michael Giacchino. And I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. He's amazing.
Got him.
Yep. And then the last thing I have is a little quote from friend of the pod, Roger Ebert.
Rest in peace.
Of the Chicago Sun-Times. So Roger said this: "The movie is more Western than science fiction. Even if we completely suspend our disbelief and accept the entire story at face value, isn't it underwhelming to spend so much time looking at hand-to-hand combat when there are so many neat toys and gadgets to play with?"
Yeah. And going off of that, the setting is very bland. Like, just the red planet.
Yeah.
Desert everywhere.
And I mean, that is what Mars is, but like, Mars is boring as shit. Don't set a movie there.
Yeah. Or set a horror movie there. Like, isn't Red Planet a horror movie? I can't remember. I've never seen it, actually. I don't know. All right. Well, since we don't only watch bad movies and TV, let's talk about some of the stuff that we've genuinely enjoyed watching lately. Pat, let's start with you.
So, like I said, I've been watching the MCU movies. Again, Jillian and I we went and saw Endgame, and she was actually intrigued by it, and she liked it. So she was asking me questions about Captain America and Thor, specifically, coincidentally, the ones that she thought were cute. And I said, well, let's just watch the movies. So we've been getting through those movies. We've gotten through phase 1 and we're right at Avengers. So I've been watching those. Iron Man 1 is an amazing movie still. And Iron Man 2 isn't as bad as I remember it being.
No, Iron Man 2 is pretty solid.
It's not bad. The third one's where it really...
I actually really liked the third one.
I really liked the third one too. If we're taking a second to talk about these movies real quick, watching them through now, the thing that is the most frustrating about these movies is everyone could very clearly tell very early on that they were on to something, like they were doing something really big very early. And they went through a lot of really big name actors that I would have liked to have had bigger parts like in later on in the MCU. So looking at like just between Iron Man and Iron Man 2, I guess between Iron Man 2 and Captain America. So 3 movies. They went through Jeff Bridges, Mickey Rourke, Sam Rockwell, and then they went through Stanley Tucci, Tommy Lee Jones, and Hugo Weaving, all in 3 movies.
So who in the Marvel universe would you have rather seen any of those people play?
I'm not sure, but like those are really big actors that I would have liked to have had bigger parts later on.
But the part of the appeal of those movies is the fact that they got really good actors to play the villains.
That's true. So,
and that's what made the Marvel. That's why these movies have been so good.
So I guess the Sam Rockwell, Jeff Bridges, and Hugo Weaving and Mickey Rourke. That's a good point. They played great villains, and so I'm good with them being where they were at. But Stanley Tucci and Tommy Lee Jones, come on. Like, they played such minor roles.
Tommy Lee Jones, in theory, they could bring him back. In theory, I think that they could bring him back, and I don't know. It's one of those things where I don't know. I don't see him I don't see any bigger role that he could play unless he's going to I think that's an unfair criticism.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I really like those actors, and to see, especially Stanley Tucci in such a minor role, it was just like, come on, utilize him better.
Yeah, fair enough. Tim, what have you been watching?
So right before this, I was actually watching the original Austin Powers, and I'm probably gonna watch the next one later tonight.
Very nice.
But I also finished up, like a lot of other people, Game of Thrones this weekend, and left a pretty sour taste in my mouth, to be honest.
I'm just sighing.
Yeah, I know it's been said all over the internet already, so I'm probably rehashing a bunch of shit. But they didn't close out character arcs in a very compelling way, so the entire ending felt incredibly empty. Without spoiling anything, that's all I can really say.
Yeah, it was not how you wanted one of the best shows on TV to end. Yeah. And really, it's the last 2 seasons have not been how you've wanted to have the last 2 seasons of a great TV show go. I heard somebody put it. So someone put it today. I heard it put that seasons 1 through 3 were A++ TV. Seasons 3 through 6 were like A-, B+, and then season 7 and 8 were like B-.
I'd go as far as say as 7 was B- and 8 was like C-. Like,
because the person's point was that you still have to give them respect for the spectacle that they created on TV, which, like, last week's episode was the definition of spectacular. Like,
Visually,
yeah.
Okay,
like,
yeah. Visually, I'll give that to you. Otherwise, yeah, no, not really. Story-wise,
Yeah, but yeah, like story-wise, it was not great. But yeah, like visually, they created some very cool stuff still in the last 2 seasons, and so apparently this person was giving them credit for that.
And apparently, you can get coffee and water bottles in Westeros now.
Yeah.
Well, in Patagonia vests and things like that too.
That too.
Yeah.
Did you? So I don't watch the show, but I heard that the ending for Ghost was very dumb and disappointing.
Oh no, they actually made that better than it originally had been.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they shoehorned something in, and I was talking to another friend about it earlier. I don't know how much truth there was to this, but according to him, they just they took one of the scenes from an earlier season, CGI'd Ghost up a bit to make him look battered, and they just lightened up the scene because it was originally shot at night. They just brightened it up to make it look like it was day.
Huh. So Ghost and Jon Snow had a reunion?
Essentially, yeah.
Good. That's good.
Yeah.
I don't watch the show, but I'll tell you, I care about Ghost.
We know you do. You named your dog Ghost, so there's some love there.
She came with the name.
Fair enough. Well, me personally, I watched the series finale of Veep.
No spoilers. I heard it was great.
It was very good, definitely. I really enjoyed it. I will spoil. She dies at the end. That's.
I don't know if that's a spoiler or not, but
it's not really a spoiler. Not really at all. But if you were a fan of Veep at all, the the most recent season was very funny. Definitely worth watching. Absolutely.
I've always really liked Veep, and so I'm sure that I'll watch it.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend it. All right, well, that wraps up this week's discussion of John Carter. Don't forget to check out our incredible website, coldnorthpro.com, where you can see everything we do in one place. Listen to us weekly on our other podcast about gaming called Hard Reset. And next time, we'll be watching Jimmy Hayward's 2010 film, Jonah Hex. See you next time, and don't forget, no refunds.